Hello and happy Hearts and Flowers Day to you and all your furry best pals. I'm Denise Fleck, the Pet Safety Crusader, and today I'd like to talk Valentine's pet safety tips. Now, today of all days is a great time to take time and smell the flowers. But if you have animals in your life, or if you are sending or giving flowers to anybody that do, make sure you take a few precautions. Anybody with kitties should not be given true lilies. The petals or flowers from a true lily, as few as 2, can be fatal to a cat. And that also applies if the lilies are in water and the cat drinks the water. So keep claws off lilies. Roses are, the flower of the day, and you want to make sure that thorns are trimmed off so that a paw or a nose or a lip doesn't get pricked when they're taking a sniff of the scent, just like we do. There are some other woody sticks that sometimes go into flower arrangements, so just make sure that anything dangerous is out of paws and claws reach, and particularly when you share your life with a feline, remember that even high places may not be safe. So take care with that. Tulips are another flower of the day, and if there are actual bulbs in the house, or you're forcing them, or you've planted them in the garden, know that bulbs of any kind are toxic if eaten. So keep them, again, out of paws' reach, as well as anything you're fertilizing. Very often we'll see fertilizers that say organic, and we think of that like when we're buying our fruits and vegetables, and that they may be safe to ingest. Not so much. Most of the organic fertilizers are things like bone meal, which is, ground bone, and blood meal, which also comes from an animal, and the smell of it is very enticing, particularly to our dogs. But the bone meal, if actually ingested, becomes like a cement block in the dog's tummy and has to be surgically removed. So paws and claws off, and remember those tips about lilies and rose thorns. This is a day certainly to toast your sweetheart, but not toast your pet. What I mean by that is, again, watch out, because even the fewest drops of spilled alcohol or adult beverages, or letting them leak out of a glass, their body weight is much more smaller than ours, so it takes less to cause the same ill effects. So it's never fun to give the dog a beer or the cat a sip of wine. It's not a good idea. And in this new age, especially with my friends in California where things are legal, be really careful with laced brownies and edibles. Anything like that ingested is going to be multiplied the effects in our pets, and it can end up to a fatality. So again, when we have a dog or cat in our life, we have a furry toddler that we need to keep safe at all times. Now again, Valentine's Day is a day for romance. There may be candles, there may be a fireplace lit if you're in some of the cooler parts of the country. Hey Barbara, speaking of cooler parts of the country, nice to see you. Make sure that no sparks fly and that animals don't get too close to flames. We want to keep our loved ones so safe. Think about colognes you may be wearing, or if you're diffusing or spraying any aromas in the house. Remember, our dog's sense of smell is 10,000, I've even heard as much as 1,000,000 times more intense than ours. Remember the line I always give you about that we may not even smell the sugar in our morning coffee, but a dog can smell a spoonful of sugar in an Olympic-sized pool of water. So their sniffers are so intense. So just make sure when you're around your pets you aren't spraying anything that can cause them to sneeze or have breathing issues. And lastly, on this note, when we're talking about love and romance, I just have to, for a moment, put on my Bob Barker hat and say we're getting close to kitten season. So please spay and neuter any age-appropriate pets. It's so important that for every human born, 15 puppies and 45 kittens are born. There's no way we're going to ever catch up and have enough homes for all of these animals if we don't spay and neuter. So if they're age appropriate and healthy enough, that's an important thing to think about when we're all thinking about love ourselves, that we do need to be responsible. And, as the saying goes, if your dog won't wear a condom, get him fixed. So now I'm going to talk about how the pathetic begging began, and the look melted my heart as my gorgeous Sheltie just looked on as I was savoring those pieces of chocolate. Being a loving pet mom, resisting those brown puppy dog eyes and telling my furry angel no was a tough gig. And it grew increasingly more difficult as Duchess would cock her head and whimper and lick those tiny lips. But I knew what I had to do, and I needed to create a diversion by putting away the sweets and taking Duchess for a car ride, strapped safely in her doggy seat, of course, to get some dog-friendly treats at the local bakery, meaning ones that were made of carob, not chocolate. So you can read more about this story. Yeah, I changed it up a bit. It was actually my mom, Millie, and her dog, Duchess the Sheltie. So read it on the blog, which is posted here. But I do want to end up today talking about chocolate. Chocolate contains an element called theobromine. Theobromine is both a cardiac stimulant and a diuretic, meaning it speeds up our heart and lungs and pulls fluids out of the body in the forms of vomiting and diarrhea. So any dog, cat, or even ferret who has had too much chocolate will suffer rapid heart rate and breathing, vomiting, diarrhea, seizures, and even death from doing so. So absolutely, don't let your dog develop a sweet tooth. It's said that cats don't have the taste bud for sweet. I don't know, but dogs certainly can develop a sweet tooth, it seems. So, if you're going to feel the need to feed them something, like that looks chocolatey, give them the carob that doesn't contain the theobromine. But remember, again, a lot of times when we want to feed them fancy treats, it's really all about us. They don't care what it looks like. They just want to gobble it down. So make sure it's safe. The problem with chocolate is that there is no single antidote for chocolate toxicity. Hey, Scott, have a awesome Valentine's Day yourself, buddy. Yeah, there's no single antidote. If you catch it soon enough, the best thing to do for dogs is to induce vomiting. But if it's been more than a couple of hours, you just want to hightail it to your veterinarian. They're going to treat whatever symptoms are presenting themselves, whether it's the seizures, the vomiting, the diarrhea, whatever it might be. They may feed activated charcoal, which binds to that theobromine and start flushing the system. Do know, and this is relatively new information, never, ever, ever induce vomiting in a feline. Over the years, we've talked about, possibly doing that. It's obviously much more difficult holding our cute little feline friends down and getting the little eyedropper or syringe down their throats. But the latest information, in particular from the veterinarians at the Pet Poison Helpline, is never induce vomiting. Even under a veterinary situation, it's kind of a 50-50 chance if you're going to get the kitty to throw up. It's really recommended that if your cat ingests chocolate or any other type of toxin, you hightail it to your veterinarian. Yeah, have them on speed dial, but also really know that direct path. Take that time to hug a tree, count to 10, take a deep breath so that you're in a calm place as you're getting Kitty in her carrier, and safely strap that carrier into the car, but get her to veterinary help. It's better to use medications to try to induce vomiting or dilute the poison that only our veterinarians have. Now, do know, part of the problem with the cats is the hydrogen peroxide, which we often use to induce vomiting, can inflame their stomach. This can happen with dogs too, so sometimes we need to outweigh the urgency of getting that toxin out of them quickly versus getting them to the vet. Most of the time, me being paranoid or overprotective dog mom, even if I get my dog to throw up, I will take a vet visit, maybe a sample of that vomit in a Tupperware container I never want to see again, or a Ziploc baggie, but just to have them checked out. The peroxide is still considered a relatively safe and effective treatment to induce vomiting in dogs, but it has been shown to, for up to about 2 weeks, to actually show a little bit of ulceration or inflammations in the tummy in some dogs. So, we certainly don't want to add more harm, but when we know it's something poisonous, we often want to get it the heck out of our pet's body. except as those of you who know that have taken pet first aid know that if it's something caustic, we never want to bring it back up. We'd rather try to dilute it in the body by getting larger quantities of water, or my favorite would be non-fat yogurt, plain yogurt into the pet, just to buy us time as we get to the veterinarian. But I'm certainly hoping on this Valentine's Day, nobody's going to have to rush to the rescue to save Rover or help Fluffy feel better. If you just think about some of the tips I talked about the lilies and the thorns, about the alcohol or adult beverages and keeping them out of paw's reach. Of course, the candles in the fireplaces and the aromas, the colognes and the different sprays. So today we took, it was actually page, gosh, I can't even read it, 64. I do need the glasses sometimes, out of the Pet Safety Bible to talk about Valentine's Day pet safety. And I'm just going to wish you that whether your Valentine is black or brown or white or spotted or tabby striped or calico or otherwise adorned, give thanks that you have each other, and make sure that Valentine's Day and every day is a safe and happy memory you make together. Thank you all for being my Valentine. Love and hugs and hearts and flowers to you all, and of course, belly rubs. Bye-bye for now.